Welcome back to Thoughtful Advocate Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Teo, and today we're going to be talking about your 20s versus your youth. I thought about this because I know a lot of people out there who are struggling right now in their 20s with their career, their love life, even friendships. Just everything is so hard in your 20s because, let's face it, you're basically an adult now and you've been pushed out in the world, and the world is a little bit of a scary place. There's a lot of unknowns. Nothing is guaranteed. I thought I would have an amazing career straight out of school because I went to UT. Not completely true. And it's just hard. Your friends are far away and you're just trying to figure out life, honestly. Your 20s are nothing like the movies make it. I'll share my story because I think it's important for people to relate to and understand that you're not alone out there. So if you're going through something similar, leave a comment down below. I need to talk about something that no one really talks about. I feel like in my 20s, I truly thought that I peaked in high school because I was like, I'm going nowhere. Internship after internship. I was at one point working as receptionist at a dental office, which was nothing to do with my degree, and I was just feeling like a failure. For me, in high school, everything just made sense. I had a rubric to follow. This is how I get exceeding. This is how you get an A. It was very straightforward, and I excelled at that, especially because the teachers at my school were just so passionate about what they taught. It just lit a fire in me. And honestly, I loved learning subjects that we learned: zoology, psychology, and so many interesting classes were available to me. So yeah, everything was clear. I had a schedule. At this time, I would be in this class. At this time, I would have lunch. And at this time, I would have my break. Like, everything was laid out so clearly. And yeah, at the time, did I think it was hard? Yes, because I was always disappointed if I didn't get 100% or more. And now I'm looking back and thinking that's really silly, especially my senior year. I was just so stressed out. I was like, oh my gosh, projects that I'm doing, how am I supposed to do it all? Obviously, my home life wasn't great. So I think that was also another form of escapism, like really just focusing on school. I'll tell you a bit more about my degree from U of T, or the University of Toronto. I graduated in 2019 with a Bachelor's of Science in Physical and Environmental Geography and Environmental Studies. Physical Environmental Geography is the science. That's what I majored in. It includes hydrology, soil science, a bunch of other environmental related classes. And I tied it in with environmental studies, more of humanities, and I enjoyed those classes. I was in life sciences first to become a doctor. That's not what I wanted. That's what my family wanted because I was doing well in school and I hated it. I dropped my classes and I was like, I'm switching because these teachers have no passion. Like, for teaching 2,000 students, I remember my biology class, I was sitting, it just felt like it was a number and they didn't really care about me, nor could they see me. I was boring and tedious, just literally looking at slides of teacher reading out of the book. Not fun. But yeah, I thought because I went to, I'm just going to have an amazing career straight from school. And boy, was I wrong. Honestly, I think my 20s were hard for different reasons versus my youth. Obviously, my family life was pretty crappy during my youth. Living with my dad was very hard for me emotionally. My 20s, even though I was removed from all of that, I still believed a lot of the things he said to me were instilled in me. I really believed that I was dumb and worthy of things. I think that really reflected in my career. I think you really hold your own career and life in your own hand. You should never just continue to blame your parents for your current situation because you can get out of it. It obviously takes time to heal from that, years of therapy, and realizing that you are in control of your life after you leave your home. It took me how to adjust to that. I'm going to break down why your youth and your 20s are just so different. And this is based off of actual research, but also my personal story. Yeah, there could be things you relate to, there could be things that you don't, but here we go. There's actually studies that show young adults experience a quarter life crisis, and it's very normal. At the time, you don't think it's normal, though. You're thinking, what's wrong with me? I was doing so well, and I can't even find a job. Yeah, and of course, society paints this picture of, oh, you're going to have this amazing career. And if you don't, you're a failure, basically. You are obsolete and not contributing to society. And basically, all these things all these pressures support capitalism, but not humanity itself. It's silly. It's really silly. Usually when you go on social media, you're comparing yourself to everyone. You're looking through how many people are going on vacation, how many people graduated, how many people got like an amazing job on LinkedIn. And you're like, what the heck is wrong with me? Social media can be very dangerous, especially during this time because you're just so vulnerable. You already feel pretty shit. Your self-esteem is in the ground. You're comparing yourself to everyone else, and that is not helpful at all. So I would suggest really getting off of it. And if you can't get off of it, at least change your algorithm, make it more positive, fill it with positive messages. Like now when I go on TikTok, it's a lot of motivational speeches where uplifting words and nature and lots of babies, just things that are less likely to drain me. I think in your 20s, you just have to stop pretending like everyone has it figured out because they don't. So if you're someone like me who really thrived in school, I didn't thrive my whole school career, just in high school specifically because the teachers were so amazing and the opportunities were great. And it was just so structured, right? You had a rubric, it would tell you, oh, 10% is for participation, and 70% is based on this. If you include your research, you can include 5 bullet points or more of different research sources. So it was very clear, concrete, and achievable. And I feel like the teachers, because it's smaller classes, like they just want you to succeed. And this really spoke to teachers at the Science and Math Institute, which is school I went to. They were super passionate about what they taught. It just changed my life because I hated math beforehand. I think I actually got a D in pre-algebra or something in middle school. Maybe it was geometry. And when I went to high school, it just changed. I actually became a lot more interested in structure was everything for me. Like on Monday through Friday, you knew exactly where you were supposed to be, what you're going to do, and how you're going to do it. Was a test or maybe you're doing a project. Just knew. When you enter the job market, there is really no rubric. Sure, there's the job posting, but you aren't really taught on how to like make your resume stick out. And you aren't really taught about how to find a job, like completely different skill. 52% of graduates with bachelor degrees actually end up doing something completely opposite or non-related to their degree. Shocking. And honestly, sometimes the job even includes one that doesn't need a degree at all. So be working at Tim Hortons or retail while you're trying to find your career or dream job. And that's completely normal. And yeah, even 10 years after graduation, 45% still can't find a job related to their degree. For me, months after, I was doing paid internships and I was just like, what am I doing? So I just felt really bad. At that time, I really wanted to go into the waste industry and figure out how to make the city more zero waste, but there was more options for me. There was either the internships, which I was doing, which was related, and I worked for the city, and I thought it was a great opportunity. So I was like, why are we doing paid internships instead of working full time? Yeah, everyone went full-time job to get benefits and obviously paid salary, and that's what everyone expects you to do after school. With jobs in your career, no one really tells you unless you have a mentor, which I definitely recommend. They don't tell you what to do. They don't tell you who should apply for this, or if you want to go this route, you should do X, Y, and Z. There's none of that unless you know someone. Yeah, I really thought I was going to be like an intern forever. And so after my internships, I was like, hey, I need a full-time job. So I went back to being a receptionist. And I even applied for communication jobs. Only ended a full-time gig, which is great, but I was really depressed and it was not for me at all. I do not like being restricted to rules. And when you work in communication, you have certain color schemes you have to follow, words that you have to use, and templates, and that's not fun for me. And someone who likes to experiment with things, try new things, and yeah, talk about what I really want to talk about, which is why my blog did well. But it did not translate to corporate communications. At one point, I was driving a truck around delivering letters to people who left cabbages on the curb, and I was like, what am I doing with my life? And yeah, I think something that made it harder was seeing the disappointment in my family's eyes, especially when I wasn't doing well in university, especially in the beginning. I dropped my classes, I dropped chemistry because I was really bad at it and I didn't care for it. And then my dad would say, why am I going into this field? Like, you want to become an environmental engineer, which I understand because that's the only thing he understands. But I would have been a terrible engineer. My mind is not logical like that or meticulous in that sort of sense. It's hard going from being the star child of straight A's to being like the failure. And yeah, there was always this voice in my head saying, maybe your dad was right, maybe you're stupid. And that you can't do anything. And so I started to believe those things. I went to therapy because every day I would be just so depressed because I didn't know what I was doing. Like at that time, I was working receptionist job at a dental office. If you worked at dental offices before, you know that they're really toxic. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's like medical field in the general. I've only worked at dental offices. There's just always some kind of weird drama going on and toxicity. So yeah, family pressure is definitely a huge stressor, especially if you're Asian. You can relate to this. Your family expects a lot from you, especially after investing so much in you. It feels pretty bad when you let them down. At this point, you're not only dealing with your own expectations, you're also dealing with your family's expectations, comparing your life to other people on social media who have full-time jobs, and just wondering what the heck you're doing with your own life. There was one point where I thought about going back to school, teacher. I wasn't really finding any jobs that I wanted. And yeah, a lot of people look down on teaching because it's like the fallback career. Like, oh, look, we can't do, you teach, which I think is stupid. Like, we need passionate teachers out there for children. Like, being a student myself, it was so important for me to have someone who was passionate about what they were teaching because that instilled passion in me. I was like, okay, maybe I'll do that. But honestly, I was also very hesitant about that because I know that me disciplining children it's not my strength, or at least at the time it wasn't. Yeah, at the time, speaking in large groups like really scared me. So I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I never went back to school for that. And that's fine. I feel like in a way, I use my blog to teach a lot of different things, especially about environmental justice. And I think that was enough for me. I think the one very lucky thing I had was John at the time. I was in my 20s. We were dating for 2 years. In general, John was doing super well. I was very surprised because John did not do well in school. He would always just make sure he just skated by. That once it came to his career, he was dead set and was honestly really admirable and also made me a bit insecure. Another huge thing that helped him was that he had co-op opportunities. He went to Sheridan College for IT and they had a great co-op program. He was doing co-ops at big companies and getting so much experience through that. And studies even show that 90% or more students who do co-op actually graduate with a full-time job within 6 months of graduating. And half receive job offers from the companies that they intern. And yeah, while John was doing his co-ops, he was getting paid real money, which was awesome. So he would go on dates and John would pay. So that was great. He's really good at saving. So one of the main reasons why we were able to buy this house, John even bought a condo, moved out of his family's place and invested that money. When we sold that, we were able to buy a house. That was a huge win for us. Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm over here graduating from UT, which is supposed to be one of the most prestigious schools in Canada. All I had was student debt and theory behind it. I think another thing that was smart of John was that IT was really in demand and my degree wasn't so much. You have to know what you're going to do if you're going to go back to school. And I don't regret going to UT. I feel like I learned a lot, especially in the environmental justice area. That's what sparked my blog. I don't have regrets about that. I feel like community colleges and colleges in general are just still looked down upon versus universities, and I don't really understand why because they have to have co-ops, and it seems like they're more geared towards actually getting a job versus universities. So I don't understand why people look down upon that. It's just silly. John is, again, very brilliant. He continued to climb the ladder and would hop from job to job because the only way to really increase your salary by a significant amount is to job hop. If he stayed at the same job, he'd probably get 5% or more every year, which is not much. So yeah, he would find better paying jobs with better benefits until he landed a job with the city. From there, he would keep going until he landed a job with the region. And yeah, now he's been there ever since and paid off really well. He has pension benefits and obviously a great salary. I think John really played his cards very, he played it safe too, because he's always had a dream of becoming an actor, but he never pursued it. They give us a lot of financial stability. I think it just goes to show that it doesn't really matter how well you did in school. It doesn't reflect how well you're going to do after school. Which is crazy because the whole time my parents were working on me on getting straight A's, and I guess it depends on what you want to do. If you want to become a doctor, obviously you have to have good grades. But here, I just don't think it's the end all be all. Another huge issue for me or problem that I had in my 20s was I basically lost all my friends. Like all my friends were back in Washington State and I was in Ontario on the East Coast. and I just lost my support system. They were my emotional support, and now they were gone. And I really just felt like I couldn't talk to anyone because when I went to UT, I would just go straight home. That time I was living really far up north. It would take me like an hour and a half just to get home. So I didn't want to join like anything extra, which I feel like was part of the downfall. But yeah, I felt stuck and alone. That can be very dangerous. Of course, on paper, it seemed like I would do very well, but it just didn't turn out that way. It took me a while to finally land a full-time job, and I've been at for 3 years in the industry that I wanted. It takes time. If we reflect on everything I've just talked about, your 20s is really what you make it. You define your own version of success. They don't know what they're talking about. You have to be internally motivated because no one cares if you don't show up to class anymore. They don't care if you don't show up to your job. You'll just get fired. It's very unpredictable. You don't know what the job market's going to be like. There could be economy crashes. The housing market could be an issue. So many factors that you just don't have control over. And honestly, you could really be on your own if you don't maintain friendships or make new ones. You could feel very isolated. And then once you do find that full-time job, you're stuck on that path unless you really take the risk and pivot. I think personally, I'm very proud of John. He had a clear plan of what he was going to do, and he did it. Meanwhile, a lot of other people are still struggling trying to create a career, and it's just a lot of uncertainty and self-esteem and disappointment after disappointment. So it can be really taxing on you mentally. I would definitely recommend co-op. If you're about to go to school, choose a school with co-op because it definitely gives you an edge. And yeah, I think school game and the real life career game is completely different. So it's not your fault if you feel at one or both. Here are two things I wish someone would just told me in my 20s. One, driving to school does not guarantee you're going to have an amazing career, and that's okay. You shouldn't be questioning your self-worth, really be questioning the system and how you're going about things. It's time to build new skills and find new connections because that's how you land a real job. And two, different education programs will prepare you differently. You are at a much higher advantage if you have a co-op or internships in your program versus someone who doesn't. Underemployment is completely normal. Again, 45% of graduates don't have a job straight out of college or university, and that's okay. And your first job doesn't define your career. My very first job out of university was literally picking up waste and sorting it. This is a big one for me. Person will destroy you if you let it. If you gotta turn off social media, you gotta do it. Gotta block people, sure to block them. And yeah, just gotta really put yourself first and stop comparing yourself to other people because they're not living your life and you're not living, and it's not gonna help you. 6, creative freedom really matters, especially to someone like me. And not everyone thrives in a corporate environment. And that's okay. So the 9 to 5 is really killing your soul. I feel sometimes you just have to do what you gotta do. Great by, pay bills, and 7, family disappointment is not your disappointment, it's theirs. Honestly, based on their expectations of what they thought wouldn't happen for you, and they could also be projecting what they wanted for themselves. Isolation amplifies everything. You just feel so alone, especially if you're staying inside, and it just amplifies all your worries. And yeah, I really recommend finding a therapist because your 20s are just difficult. Yeah, feeling lost in your 20s, that's completely normal, and everyone's been there. And yeah, you're not behind. You're right on time in your own journey. Honestly, I think my 30s are going to be much better. And they already are. Not in my 30s yet, but I'm basically on the cusp, so they're already getting better. If you like this video, please hit subscribe and share this with someone who is struggling in their 20s because they need to hear this and feel like they're not alone. And always remember, success looks different for everyone. It's how you define it yourself. Okay, so today's sponsor is Kind Laundry. Just kidding, they're not really a sponsor, but I do have an affiliate code. Kind Laundry use natural ingredients, and it actually comes in these sheets. So much more useful than liquid laundry detergent because that stuff gets messy. With Kind Laundry, you can bring this anywhere. It's literally in a box, pack in your suitcase, and it's that easy. You can get 10% off by using code ZeroWasteCute.